to Indian Dietetic Association Gujarat chapter, NetProfan Gujarat chapter for collaborating for Microbiome Nexus, exploring the link between micronutrients and non-communicable diseases. Welcome Bhavna ma'am for the welcome address. So I'll share my screen. Bhavna ma'am is Associate Professor with MBM Science and Home Science College, Rajkot. She has published several research in national and international journal, authored 3 books on nutrition and dietetics, both in English and Gujarati, contributed a chapter in book Eat Right, a food system approach by Food Future Foundation. She is convener of Indian Dietetic Association Gujarat chapter and NetProfan Gujarat chapter. We welcome to you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am, now.
Thank you, Rashika. A very good afternoon to one and all. It's indeed a great pleasure to be addressing the participants of today's CNE.
Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Hello? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, Bhavna, I can hear you.
Yeah, Bhavna, we can hear you.
Even I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all. And it's indeed a great pleasure to be addressing the participants of today's CNE on Microbiome Nexus, exploring the link between micronutrients and non-communicable diseases. Friends, we know that gut microbiota contribute to both health as well as diseases. And at any given point in time, the human microbiome is determined by several factors such as age, nutrition, lifestyle, hormonal changes, inherited genes, and underlying disease in a person. And any alteration in the gut microbiota, that is the condition known as dysbiosis, can lead to life-threatening diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular diseases, bowel inflammatory diseases, etc. With increasing health issues due to dysbiosis, hello? With increasing health issues due to dysbiosis, I think we as nutritionists need to know the science of dysbiosis and preventive measures or measures to correct this condition. So I'm really glad that Indian Dietetic Association Gujarat chapter and NetProfan Gujarat chapter are organizing this CNE today with the Good Monk Nutrition. It is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome the guest speaker, Ms. Nilanjana Singh, our panelists, Ms. Amita Tambekar, Ms. Swati Patel, Ms. Vandana Hotwani, Ms. Semi Khanna, Ms. Rishi Kajale, and Ms. Momi Burman to this event. Let me tell you, friends, these are all IDA members, so I'm welcoming my family members. We are an extended family, so it's a great pleasure to welcome the speaker and the panelists. I also welcome Ms. Sheila Krishnaswamy ma'am, who is our special. I'd like to welcome the team of Good Monk Nutrition, which is represented today by Ms. Sheetal Somaiya. And I would like to welcome all the participants who are attending this event today. I wish happy learning to all. Thank you all. Over to Rashida.
I would like to introduce Ms. Nilanjana Singh ma'am. So Nilanjana ma'am has over 30 years of extensive clinical experience at AIIMS, Sitaram Bhartiya Research Institute, the Diabetes Foundation Delhi, and PCRI Hospital. where she founded and headed the dietetic facility for more than 20 years. She's President, Indian Dietetic Association Delhi Chapter, 2015-2018. She's Certified IBS Diet Practitioners, Monash University, Australia. She's President, Delhi University Women Association, 2010 and 2015. She has been associated with WHO and FSSAI as a part of their committees and projects of nutrition and health. She has more than 7 years of nutrition and health education teaching experience at University of Delhi. She has also been a weekly health columnist for Morning Standards and the Indian Express for many years. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for an introduction.
Over to you, Nilanjana ma'am. Now you can share your screen.
Just one moment. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Nilanjana, we can see it.
Okay, thank you so much, Sheila. So I begin my talk, which is for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to talk to you about exploring this nexus, these connections that the gut microbiome has with the non-communicable diseases, the micronutrients, and some more things. So hopefully we'll get an overview on the subject. Not able to move my screen for some reason. Just give me a moment. So I don't know whether you can see my next screen, which is showing you the microbes which are all over our body. And
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the gastrointestinal tract because these are the most influential bacteria. Although the ecology differs from different parts of the body, but we talk about the GI tract today because they are the most influential and they harbor this unique ecology, which we will talk about. So when we look at connections, we know that the evidence is getting stronger. And the first exposure to the gut microbiome comes from the mother, and how we are born, whether it's a normal delivery, vaginal delivery, or a C-section, whether we are bottle fed or breastfed, all of these things play a big role in how the microbiome is going to be established. And the first 1,000 days are important as ever. But what is really helping us is this omics technology, which is genomics, proteomics, and many others, which is helping us understand this connection that we have with the gut microbiota and the host. It gives a lot of data, short period of time, unbiased, and we can make great analysis from this. So AI is helping us a lot to understand the gut microbiome. We know that the connections of the gut microbiome is almost everywhere. It's like spreading its tentacles everywhere. And why not? There are so many microbes within us, more than 100 trillion microbes, and not just their genetic material, but also their metabolites, much more than the human cells. So obviously there will be connections everywhere. And what is influencing the gut microbiome is the host's physiological condition, the standard of living, the sanitation, the sleep, exercise, and of course, the diet. There are many fascinating discoveries happening all the time, just like we earlier thought the placenta was sterile, but now it looks like it has a microbiome of its own, and it seems like it's different in successful pregnancies versus the not so successful ones. So great insights are coming in, but it's a very complex field. So the progress can be slow, but there are discoveries taking place all the time. And the complexity is also really, really stark. So there's been an exponential increase in the publications in this area of the gut microbiome, and rightly so. There's so much to study, but we know that there's a link with almost everything we do: our digestion, metabolism, brain development, immunity, allergies, how drugs are bioavailable, and also the micronutrients. I want to talk a little bit about the micronutrients because it's not often talked about. So I will talk a little bit about the micronutrients. We know this, that these gut bacteria synthesize many vitamins for us, and they are important for the overall vitamin status of the host. They aid in digestion and absorption of fat, so hence they are also affecting the fat-soluble vitamins, not just the water-soluble ones, but the fat-soluble ones because of the bile acid metabolism that they play a role in. So it's not just the synthesis, it's also the metabolites that contribute towards the host nutritional status. And all in all, one can say these commensal microbes, they play a role in the biosynthesis, modulate solubility, absorption, and bioavailability for the host. This is a very nice review paper, and we have a lot of hidden hunger in our country. So it's good to see how we can increase the bioavailability of minerals and vitamins through the gut microbiota. And this is probably the way forward. We can change diets, we can also supplement, but also increasing the bioavailability becomes an important factor. This is a little diagram which will show you that in different parts we know of the intestine, whether it's the duodenum, jejunum, ileum, or colon, different vitamins and minerals are being absorbed, and the gut microbiota, the microbes, also their metabolites, they contribute towards the host micronutrients status by increasing availability and solubility. So great benefit to the host coming from them. So what happens when there is a micronutrient deficiency? How do these microbes behave? Each species, it has been studied, they undergo different changes, and it could be a change in their gene expression or their metabolism to cope with these shortages. Every species has their own unique response, just like we as individuals have unique responses, whether it is to an external stimuli. So micronutrient deficiency makes these species undergo changes. And if it happens in the first 1,000 days, these deficiencies of micronutrients, they could be persistent, impaired maturation of these gut microbiota, and their composition can change, leading to disease and increased risk of disease. Because these lack of nutrients, micronutrients, can disrupt the numerous functions of these commensal bacteria, change the gut environment, and increase the risk of disease. This shows you, because we talked about how it's connected to health, we also need to understand that how gut is connected, the gut microbiome is connected to disease, and you can see these non-communicable diseases all having links with the microbiota. These are established. More than 25 diseases have been established, and more links are being seen towards how gut microbiota can increase the risk of disease. When we're talking about this risk of disease, I just want to spare a minute and talk about the new link that seems to be emerging, not so new, but it is the favorite area of research in the gut microbiome, that is the gut-brain link. And we see that there is a communication system existing between the gut and the brain, and there is signaling happening between the two organs. It's neural, hormonal, and immunological signaling. And we already know that the intestinal microbiota and its metabolite have this role to access the brain and vice versa. So obviously the brain will affect the gut and the gut will affect the brain through its metabolites. And we also know now that microbes are releasing some neuroactive substances which are called psychobiotics. And these are being studied for bolstering the athletic performance, the sleep patterns, and for mood disorders. So the gut microbiome is proving to be involved in the psychological homeostasis via the neuroendocrine system. This depicts very nicely that the brain, we always knew, can influence the gut microbiota. When one is going in for an exam, we know how we feel queasy, the motility, mucin production, all of this changes. So the brain is affecting the gut. But new information about how the gut is affecting the brain and directly its metabolites are influencing the central nervous system is something new, and it's a very important area of study. Let me tell you that the gut is an ecosystem. It's the entire environment that is important. So it's not just the microbes, but how they interact with one another, with the host, with the entire environment will decide the health of the ecosystem and decide which species can survive in that ecosystem. And I want to emphasize that there is no one healthy kind of microbiome, that this is the one and we all need to achieve that kind of healthy microbiome. There are many stable states that are possible. And in a stable state, what is the important thing is the balance of the intestinal flora and as much as possible to mitigate any dysbiosis. When you look at this figure, you can see here that the lactobacilli and bifidobacteria, we want them to be in large numbers, which it is. And you can see the potential benefits of these these species of these lactobacilli and bifidobacteria. They have many benefits. But you can see on the red side that there are certain harmful bacteria as well. They have potential harmful effects. The idea is not to wipe them out completely. Just like in politics, you need a healthy opposition. In the gut, you just need to keep them in check. It's not that you should only have the healthy ones, but they need to be kept in check. So what happens when there's disease and dysbiosis? The probiotic or the commensal bacteria are far outnumbered by the pathogenic bacteria or the microbiota, which overpopulate the gut. So that's when dysbiosis happens. So the balance is tilted in favor of the pathogenic ones. So just to give you an idea state of the gut microbiota, which happens with disease, but the definition is so subjective. I told you there is no one healthy state. So how do you identify it? There are many factors which need to be known about identification of this dysbiosis. It's the scale of the disturbance, the magnitude, the proportion of the microbial community affected. So all of this needs to be taken into account to understand how dysbiosis is happening. But if I were to say that, what is the pattern? If you have to tell somebody, what is the pattern for gut dysbiosis? So although there is no set pattern, but you can say that there is expansion of the anaerobic Proteobacterium phylum And these are all low butyrate producers like the Salmonella and the Pseudomonas. But the healthy microbiome are the obligate anaerobes, and they produce short chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate is of great significance. So when we talk about butyrate, it's important because it plays many roles in improving gut barrier function, affects the immune reactions. And you know, it's not just in the intestines, but in very distant organs and tissues. And it also has a role in appetite and energy homeostasis. And it is actually energy. 70% of the epithelial energy is from butyrate. So that's how important it is. So why are we facing so much dysbiosis? It's because of the antibiotic overuse. That's one reason. And you'll be surprised to know that just 3 days of broad spectrum antibiotics can reduce butyrate levels by 4-folds. And they reduce the ability to form these short chain fatty acids from the fiber. The gut barrier function is compromised and the microbial diversity is affected. All of this happens with just 3 days of broad spectrum antibiotic. The other reason for the dysbiosis happening to us is lack of exercise. It's hard to believe, but there is enough data to show, whether it's in animal models, cross-section studies, or longitudinal studies. All of them are saying the same thing, that there is, when you exercise, there's more microbial diversity, more short chain fatty acid production, and those species which produce butyrate increase. So there is no kind of disregard for keeping your habits very, very healthy in terms of exercise. You should be exercising and you get multiple benefits from that.
Excuse me, Nilanjana ma'am, can we just take a pause because some participants are saying the video is not available. So the tech team is getting that sorted. We'll just give them a minute.
Yeah, sure. You want me to hold on, not go ahead, right?
Yes, ma'am. If any of the participants are unable to see the video, the tech team has requested to just log out and log in again, and you should be able to see the video. Yes, apologies, ma'am, please continue.
Okay, thank you, Shruti. So we talked about how antibiotic use, sedentary habits are reason for dysbiosis. There are other reasons, and that could be host-mediated inflammation, infection, psychosocial stress. We saw the link with the gut, but most commonly seen today is the faulty diet. And when you say faulty diet, that's a very vague term. So I've tried to sort of specify what that faulty diet is: the intake of ultra-processed food in excess, very high-fat diets, low-fiber diets, excess alcohol intake, use of artificial sweeteners and emulsifiers, which usually come with ultra-processed food. But there is one aspect of the faulty diet that's not commonly talked about. And so I wanted to talk about it, is the loss of seasonality in our diets. We are no longer eating according to the season. And this was a study done in the Hadza hunter-gatherer, the tribe, and their microbiota would reflect the microbes according to the season. And this is not happening in our populations, and clearly we are losing that diversity. So I wish we could eat seasonally and not eat mangoes through the year. So we need to stick to seasonal foods as much as possible, and diversity of the microbiome is also being understood, that this is increasing. If you have loss of diversity, there is a risk of chronic disease. So we need to eat seasonally, and we need to exercise. We need to not have antibiotics if we don't need to. So all of that is important. You can see on this slide, the more diverse the diet, the more diverse the microbiota, and diversity on the plate and also in the gut matters. So we should strive towards diversity at both places. And if you do it on the plate, it's likely that it will happen in the gut. So what happens when there is dysbiosis? And I have tried to sort of put down some conditions, and we can come back to in detail if we have the time. But like in malnutrition, there is increased prevalence of certain pathogenic bacteria, like the proteobacteria and firmicutes in the fecal samples. In obesity and diabetes, there is higher proportion of firmicutes versus bacteroidetes. So I want you to sort of just make a note of this, because this higher proportion is very important, and the ratios become more important than just numbers. So similarly, this kind of change in the microbiota has been seen in inflammatory bowel disease and autism, colorectal cancer, allergy, asthma, and even non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now they are using microbiota-based therapies and probiotic interventions and fecal microbiota transplant, all of this to get better results. So that is how important the microbiota is linked to disease. This is just a depiction of what I said, that whether it's inflammatory bowel disease or the metabolic syndrome, you can see change in ratios. There could be intestinal permeability problems. When there's more intestinal permeability, it leads to systemic inflammation. So similarly, in all these conditions, you can see that the microbes are playing a big role, whether it is their signaling or the competition where the pathogenic bacteria are colonizing more. So all of them have some scope for the microbiota to be sort of changed. And that is how we are looking at various aspects which can make that change. There is a hypothesis which is called the leaky gut hypothesis. All of you must have heard about it. So this is what is the increased intestinal permeability, which is one of the factors which is proposed causing disease. And this is leakage of these substances from the gut into the bloodstream. And these toxins, bacteria, whatever, that should not be going into the systemic circulation reaches there, and the immune response causes more inflammation, and this contributes to the health conditions. You can see when the junctions on top of this figure, when the tight junction is maintained, the barrier integrity is maintained and there's no leaking. But when there is a leaky gut, you can see that many components get into the gut, and that leads to more inflammation when it enters the circulation. So that is the leaky gut hypothesis. What is interesting to note that the gut microbiome, we think that it is acting only in the gut and causing obesity. But what is interesting to note, at all levels in the body, whether it is the epithelium, where it increases the permeability in the gut, or whether it's the muscle where it decreases the fatty acid metabolism, and right to the brain where it decreases satiety, all of that is responsible for causing obesity. And that is what more and more data is suggesting. When you look at this diagram, so it's just the stepwise approach. And when you see the high-fat diet increases intestinal permeability, the lipopolysaccharides enter the circulation, cause inflammation, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome, and predisposes you to obesity and type 2 diabetes. Look at these, the difference in you can see on the left, what the structure of the gut microbiome is. In the obese mice, you can see the firmitudes are much higher in numbers, but also I want you to look at the ratios. The ratios of the bacteroidetes to the firmitudes changes in the obese mice and in the lean mice. So I talked about these ratios being important. So this was a study which showed that the ratios change, not just the numbers in the obese mice. In one of these experiments, the microbiota from the obese mice was given to germ-free mice. And these germ-free mice who received this microbiota from the obese mice were given a diet which the lean mice had. Yet they exhibited increased body fat accumulation and the metabolic changes. And this is suggesting the important role of the gut microbiota in increasing body weight and disturbing the metabolism. Similarly, in cardiovascular disease, it affects the gut microbiome, works through mainly three systems: the pro-inflammatory molecules, the lipopolysaccharides that we talked about. There are certain metabolites which are released, and there are certain bioactive compounds like short-chain fatty acids and the nitric oxide, which influence BP and cardiovascular health. When you look at this diagram, when we eat certain foods, the choline present in it is acted upon by the gut flora, and this gut flora changes into TMA, which is trimethylamine, and then it reaches the liver where it is oxidized to TMAO, and this TMAO increases the risk of atherosclerosis and platelet aggregation, and that is how the risk of cardiovascular disease happens through the gut flora. In diabetes, also, the microbiota links are strong. The metabolism of bile acids, we talked about it earlier, they impact the lipid levels and increase risk of diabetes. The fermentation of the dietary fibers and short-chain fatty acids, again, have the role in insulin sensitivity. And there are many gut hormones, their production and secretion, like GLP-1, PYY, they regulate the appetite and insulin secretion and thus glucose control. This is a diagram where when you have on the left is the fiber-rich diet, and you can see that the short-chain fatty acids are produced and the gut hormones, PYY and GLP-1, which help in increasing satiety and motility, insulin sensitivity. And when that does not happen, you're on a high-fat diet, the lipopolysaccharides, which eventually go on to the adipose tissue, liver, and increase inflammation and insulin resistance. So what can we do to restore this gut microbiota balance? Of course, diet, exercise, sleep, setting our circadian rhythm. There's also some role of periodic fasting, which is being investigated. But the tools that help to improve the balance are probiotics, prebiotics, symbiotics, fecal microbiota transplant, and some herbs are being studied. I believe there is a study ongoing in the US where they are studying Chyawanprash to see how it changes the gut microbiota, and it looks like there are interesting results happening. So how much time do I have, Sheetal?
Ma'am, we have another 3-4 minutes.
Okay. So these are strategies to modify the gut flora favorably. And we know about probiotics, prebiotics, and symbiotics. I won't go into the definitions, but with probiotics, they're encouraging results. But I think the quest to find the precision, which strain, for what disease, that is something that is being precisely looked at. And here again, genomics and omics studies are helping us understand this precision. When we talk about prebiotics, we should not think that all fiber is prebiotics. And I just want to say that these prebiotics, they increase not only the short chain fatty acid production, they increase the absorption of minerals as well. Generally, we associate fiber with decreasing the mineral uptake, but prebiotics are known to increase the absorption of minerals, especially studies have been done with calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron, very important and a big tool. And of course, they reduce the risk factors for the NCDs. Besides these, the postbiotics have come in the spotlight, and these are the molecules that come from the microbiome, and they are emerging as the new therapeutic approach to counter these metabolic diseases, and how these metabolites can produce the desired effect on health is being studied, and microbial enzymes are emerging as the target for drug development. So if we have the enzymes and make them act in a way that we want them to, that can help. Synbiotics are also showing good results. This was studied in the SynCan study where anti-cancer properties have been showing good results. The probiotics generally used in synbiotics are Saccharomyces boulardii, the Bifidobacteria and Lactobacilli species, and Bacillus coagulant. And the prebiotics, the most commonly studied and used is the fructooligosaccharides. Fecal microbiota transplant, also known as stool transplant, has shown very good results for the treatment of Clostridium difficile diarrhea, and it's more than 90% effective, which was taking the lives of small children. So just want to say that it's not just introducing a few strains, it is transplanting a whole new community, and then that community crowds out the pathogenic bacteria. I talked about how herbs are being studied. There was another study in Canada's McGill University where they used a combination of probiotics, a herbal supplement, which is Triphala, which has Amla, Bibitaki, and Haritaki, which was fed to the fruit flies. And again, good results were seen, but I just want to say that this is in very nascent stages, and whether this will translate into humans is yet to be seen. So we can look forward to a more personalized approach to fixing dysbiosis, and mining of the gut microbiota for the next generation of small molecules that they produce is going to be the top research. Short chain fatty acids, how important they are. So studying their receptors and their signaling is very, very, very crucial, and that more work will happen in that area. And we know that food is a useful tool for altering the body composition and the gut micro. So that, of course, will stay. So for the time being, we can make our diets healthy by having less processed food, more fermented, the rainbow diet, which we all know. And we know that how important the gut is. I said in my first slide that these are the most influential gut microbiomes. So we need to understand them and need to keep our diets, exercise, drugs, etc. We should be conscious of what we are doing. So thank you so much for your patient listening. I hope I've kept to my time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your presentation. We have got some wonderful insights. Now I would request Sheetal ma'am. I would like to introduce Sheetal ma'am to introduce our founder.
Thank you so much, Nilanjana ma'am. We had a very exciting and a very engaging presentation. In the interest of time, we will be taking the questions in the panel discussion. However, it was very exciting to know, enriching to know that just 3 days of broad spectrum antibiotics could lead to a 4-fold decrease in butyrate within the gut microbiome. So we'll take some more questions during the panel discussion.
Okay, sure.
Before we begin the presentation, kindly allow me to introduce our founders, Amarpreet Singh Anand and Ms. Saiba Kaur. Amarpreet Singh Anand he is the founder at Superfoods Valley, and Saiba Kaur is the co-founder at Superfoods Valley. Amarpreet has an experience. He's an ex-Diageo, ex-Mondelez, and ex-Cadbury's. He's also been the RCB Board of Directors. Like he very often says, earlier he's been in the indulgence category, and now obviously he's come into the health category. Let us now listen into their video that they've shared with us on what was the reason and why and how they built Superfoods Valley. Ashika, please share the video.
Sheetal, there's no sound, sorry.
Thanks, Simi. We'll just check.
I have a question for you. Have you heard about the term hidden hunger? Most likely not. Hidden hunger is the lack of essential micronutrients in our body. What typically happens is that we all feel that we are eating healthy food. We are having 3 meals in a day, and therefore we don't have any nutrition gap. But the data indicates that 8 out of 10 Indians have hidden hunger or lack of key micronutrients in their body. This is actually a gift of our modern lifestyle, because we have imbalanced meals, we are eating out too much, our families are into junk food, and unfortunately the quality of the soil, the nutrients in the soils are decreasing over a period of time. So the quality of natural food itself has deteriorated. This is leading to the fact that we are getting enough calories in our food, but we are not getting enough nutrition in our food.
And we speak from personal experience, about 3 years ago, our son, 11 years old, was underweight and in the bottom 5 percentile of BMI levels. You can imagine how stressed we were as parents. After multiple consultations with pediatricians, doctors, nutritionists, trying different supplements, diets, nothing worked. So that's how
Good Monk was born.
Our third baby.
So Good Monk was developed over 2 years in collaboration with some of the most senior nutritionists, scientists, product development people in the country. It was a really tough job to make a product which is nutritionally so robust, actually can be smuggled into your daily food so that nobody comes to know, and is also a clean product. It's not loaded with too much of salt, sugar, preservatives, because really we were making it for our own family, right? So this little sachet is loaded with 13 nutri-herbs. It has got all the essential vitamins and minerals which are lacking in modern diet. It has got 1.3 billion probiotics and fiber which are brilliant for your gut health. It has got lysine, which is a protein building block, and it has got traditional wonder herbs like ashwagandha and brahmi. And the magical part is you put it into your food and none of the family members will know, but they'll get all the nutrition which is required to make them healthy.
And what I love the most about the product is that you can add it to your prepared food and it doesn't change the color, smell and taste of your food. I actually keep it next to my namaktani and also on my dining table so that we never forget to add it to our meals.
खाने में मिक्स करें,
फैमिली का न्यूट्रिशन फिक्स करें.
So I would like to invite Sheetal ma'am. She has practiced for 17 years in Mumbai, Singapore, and Bangalore. She has varied experience in corporate pharma, teaching, hospital, and digital health across India, Singapore, and USA. She has been the LEC member at Indian Dietetic Association, Mumbai chapter. She's also been the website chairperson and continuing education chairperson at Singapore Nutrition Dietetic Association. We welcome you, ma'am.
Hi, Rashika. Thank you so much for a warm introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheetal Somaya. I'm the senior nutritionist at Superfoods Valley. And we have specialized and we have created this first nutrition mix in India, which has no taste, color, or smell. So why did we create this? Like we've shared earlier, hidden hunger is due to micronutrient deficiencies, and we all know that. We are almost able to get our macronutrients, but however, micronutrients is something that not only we, but even our patients do struggle with. What does it say? The global hidden hunger crisis is 2 billion people worldwide suffer from hidden hunger, and most of them are prominently in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Like Nilanjana ma'am has already shared, the impact is immediately within the first 1,000 days. And if it's not taken care of, we get into a vicious cycle all through adolescence, then adulthood, pregnancy, the elderly, and then again reversing from pregnancy back to the child for the first 1,000 days. And then on, therefore, it just continues. It leads to stunting, low birth weight, high mortality, reduced learning capacity, reduced productivity in adults, malnutrition in adults and children, and increased risk of chronic diseases in adults, as well as increased risk of morbidity in the elderly. What can we do to prevent this? So let's see what is the condition in India. In India, we have the menace of anemia that is present widely amongst children, pregnant, non-pregnant women. It's not only amongst women, it's also amongst men, like we see here. It has increased from 59 to 67.5% in children. It has increased from 53 to 57% in women. It has increased from 3 to 25% in men just within the last 4 years. What does it show? Is it only iron? No. We are also showing deficiencies in zinc, folate, B12, vitamin A, vitamin D. And it is only increasing as we see here. What are the 6 micronutrient deficiencies that are most prevalent? It's vitamin A, B12, vitamin D, iron, iodine, folic acid, and definitely protein. What does it show? The CNNS data shows that it is increasing and more prevalent amongst the more affordable demographic, that is abundance, but still there is deficiencies. And it is not only there for one, it's also seen amongst iron, folate, B12, vitamin D, and zinc, right from increasing right from 15 to 27% for iron, 28 to 43% in folate, 28 to 31% in B12, and 90 to 33%. So even though there is ample amount of food, however, the nutrient density of food is what tends to suffer. And what could be the causes? It's primarily because our diets are mostly based on staple crops, not eating enough fruits and vegetables, faulty eating habits, high food prices, therefore, not choosing the correct and the appropriate amount of food, and definitely that leading to a poor gut health and a poor gut microbiome, which leads to impaired absorption of even the food that we are eating, which may be healthy. What's the solution? Definitely biofortification, diet diversity, as Nilanjana ma'am said, eating as per the season, supplementation, food fortification, improvement in hygiene and sanitation. So what did we do? At SFV, with our expert scientific council, we have developed the Good Monk Nutrition Mix. We have a scientific council, that is Dr. P. Krishnaswamy, Dr. Shashikaran, Mrs. Mallika Janikaraman, Dr. Shovan Ganguly, and our very own Sheila ma'am, Sheila Krishnaswamy ma'am. So what does Good Monk do? How is it different? And how does it help you make food, nutrition supplementation a part of food? There are 4 different options available to us and our patients today. We have multivitamins, tablets and syrups. Then we also have milk drinks, which again, we are more concerned because of the high sugar. Then we have the newer versions of gummies, the dissolvable and the effervescent tablets, which again, there needs to be more research for that. And then we have the good old way of smuggling nutrition into food. That is, adding it to food like how often our parents have done earlier. So what is Good Monk? Good Monk is a nutrition mix that does not add taste, color, or odor to the food when eaten. It does not have any added white sugar, any added salt, any added fat, or preservatives. It's only 4 to 5 kilocal per sachet that comes from FOS. Let's look at the composition. So we have lysine, we have FOS, we have fiber, we have prebiotics, we have probiotics, we have our key vitamins and minerals, we have KSM 66, ashwagandha, and Brahmi. 1 sachet contains about 30% RDA, and 2 sachets will give about 40 to 60% RDA. Lysine, why have we chosen lysine, the protein building block, and not adding protein? Because we are a carbohydrate-based nation. Therefore, for mutual supplementation, the 1 amino acid that we miss is lysine. For probiotics, we have 1.6 billion, and we have 2 herbs, ashwagandha and Brahmi. The lysine has shown that lysine supplementation in prepubertal girls in India has shown an improvement in growth as well as muscle function. And lysine, when fortified with wheat flour, has shown the immunological status of wheat-eating families in northern India improve abundantly. The probiotic of choice for us has been Bacillus coagulans. The reason being, it is spore-forming, it is heat-stable, it survives the hot temperature of food, it survives the acidic pH of the stomach. This is a clinically proven ingredient, and it has known to give great results. Along with that, we have given FOS. How does FOS help? Like ma'am has already explained, it has selective fermentation directly in the intestine. It increases the production of short-chain fatty acid. It stimulates the beneficial bacterial growth of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. It modulates gut microbiota composition. Therefore, it results in an enhanced intestinal barrier function and improves gut immunity. The symbiotic effect of Bacillus coagulans and FOS. It leads to an improved composition of microbiomes, microbes within the gut, and therefore it has benefits such as increased mineral absorption, stronger immune system, reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes, increasing the resilience to stress, improved sleep, better mood, improved digestion, and therefore improved hormonal balance. These are the salts that we have added in our Good Monk sachet. For vitamin A, we have retinyl acetate, pyridoxine hydrochloride, cyanocobalamin, ascorbic acid for vitamin C, ergocalciferol for vitamin D, ferric sodium EDTA for iron, and zinc sulfate. Why is iron supplementation so important? What are the challenges that we face? We have challenges of constipation with the iron tablets that a lot of women face, and therefore there is poor compliance. With Good Monk, there's improved compliance. As it's easy to mix with food, it becomes a part of food. The combination of prebiotics and probiotics improves constipation. It also improves energy levels by improving the absorption of iron. Both ferric sodium EDTA and zinc sulfate are highly bioavailable salts. The herbs that we have are ashwagandha and Brahmi. These are clinically proven. Ashwagandha that we have is KSM 66. It has 24 gold standard clinically published papers. Ashwagandha is also known as an adaptogen, very much needed in today's day and time. Therefore, it improves in response to stress and anxiety. It results in improved sleep. Brahmi, along with vitamin B6 and B9 in Good Monk, it reduces fatigue, improves energy levels, and leads to much better sleep. Therefore, every sachet of Good Monk contains 130 crore good bacteria, amount in 1 serving of probiotic curd, about 1/3 cup of chopped pineapple, the fiber present in that, lysine present in 3/4 cup of ragi, vitamin A present in 1.5 cup of cheese, vitamin B9 present in 3/4 cup of bitter gourd, vitamin B6, D, and iron present in 3.5 cups of fenugreek leaves, vitamin B12 present in 1/2 cup of milk, vitamin C present in 1.5 cup of spinach, zinc in 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts, ashwagandha and brahmi within RDA limits. Well, after this, we also are coming up very soon within the next 2 days with our Healthy 50 Plus, which is for adults 50 years and above, more as a preventive sachet. This has even more. It has 15 essential vitamins and minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, lysine, ashwagandha, and brahmi. This is also recommended as 2 sachets a day. It has vitamin B6, iron, vitamin A, B12, vitamin K, vitamin E, selenium, and biotin. These are the ones that are not there in the Good Monk. And now I would like to share some videos from our Gujarat IDA LEC members who've tried the product and will be sharing their experience with us.
Hi, I'm Shruti Patel, consulting dietitian and nutritionist, having experience of 17 plus years in the field of dietetics. During my day-to-day practice, many clients came complaining of fatigue, lethargy, and always not being in the mood of doing anything. This is a very common problem with kids, elderly people, or women above 40 years. Even though we provide a personalized diet plan to meet all nutrients for a day, but sometimes in some clients where we are not sure about their cooking practices, their absorption level of nutrients, we need to provide them some supplements to meet up the requirements. And it's always a challenging task to convince a client to take any products. But with Good Monk, which is actually I tried on my family, clients started liking it too, because it doesn't add any taste, odor, or color to their original food goodness. It has 13 nutrient hubs which help in reducing stress levels and giving a boost to immune system, making it ideal for elderly. It also improves mental sharpness and enhances memory in kids. And now, in my 40s, I too need such a boosting nutrient-rich sachets twice a day in my diet. So, खाने में mix करें, family का nutrition fix करें. Switch to Good Monk. Hi, I'm Shruti.
So this wonderful product I came across is by Good Monk. It's a nutrition mix, and if you're also looking for a product which is a power pack of nutrients, please do try this product. It has 30 sachets, and the best part of this product is that it does not have its own flavor. So you can always try it in all the foods which you eat regularly, whether it's your curd, milk, dal, sambar, rice, any meal, and it won't make much difference. Similarly, I also thought of trying one, so I picked up one sachet. And it tastes no difference. You will hardly find any difference in the taste, in the flavor of the product. So that's why I was thinking to tell people that this is one thing I really love, and I would recommend if you're looking for some supplement to meet your daily things, to give you some energy, power pack with nutrients. So do try this micronutrient rich food, and it comes with a micronutrient ready reckoner. So you can go through this. It's a wonderful product.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to invite Ms. Shruti Bharadwaj, the Senior Clinical Dietitian in Narayan Hrudayalaya Multi-Speciality Hospital at Ahmedabad. Ma'am, please unmute and share your experience. Please also switch on your video. Maybe we can move on to Rajshri ma'am. Rajshri Kalale ma'am is a consulting senior dietitian at Gandhinagar. Ma'am, could you please unmute and
Yes. Hi. Hello. Yeah, I'm Rajshri, a consulting clinical dietitian, having more than 20 years of experience in this field. In my work experience, I have always noticed that meeting micronutrient needs is a big task, big challenging role for everyone. So the reasons may vary, but the resultant is same. Like it will be needing, these deficiency will be leading to many other diseases. So this small packet of Good Monk, it has got the answer of it. And it contains almost all vitamins like A, B, C, D, and the minerals like zinc and iron, along with the lysine as a protein. And the best thing is it can be added to any of the food, whatever you are having, and it can be carried also to any your workplace, or maybe you are having food at restaurant as well. You can carry the small packet, and it will not change the taste and flavor of the food. And so that is why I say ki just believe in this small packet, chota packet bada dhamaka, we can say that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's a great tagline. Chota packet bada dhamaka.
Thank
May I now invite Ms. Tanvi Sampath, the consulting dietitian and the owner of The Healthy Monk from Rajkot, to share her wonderful experience.
Yes, hello everyone. I want to share my really wonderful experience with the Good Monk. And before I share my experience, I want to just say that this came in as blessing for me, because I was suffering from severe grade 3 dengue fever, and I was struggling to recover myself. And it was just like 4-5 days I had recovered, and this Good Monk courier came home. And after reading and going through this fabulous book that comes along, I read that what all is there in it, and I gave it a chance and I started adding it to my diet. Now, when I was sick, the medicines, all that I had, like what I heard in today's lecture, that how much it is affecting our health. And definitely I was really badly constipated. I could not eat food properly. So I could not sleep properly. Now, 3-4 days, I started taking Good Monk 2 times a day. And within 4th day, I started noticing change. My gut started becoming very clear. My sleep patterns started changing. Like I started finding very good, peaceful sleeps during the night. And it was like a push for me to help me recover faster. Now, not I only include this in my daily diet, but I will recommend it to each and every patient that is going to come through me. So this has been like a blessing for me, and I'm going to be forever the Healthy Monk and the Good Monk forever. It is going to be like forever thing. So thank you so much for this and these wonderful little sachets that can change your life like a U-turn thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanvi, for sharing your experience, and wish you a speedy recovery ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. We will now move on to the panel discussion. Rashika, could you please introduce the panelists?
First of all, thank you, Sheetal ma'am, for introducing Good Monk to all of us. And I would like to thank Rajshri ma'am and Tanvi ma'am for sharing their experience. Now we'll continue further for panel discussion. Yeah. I would like to introduce Miss Amita Tambekar ma'am. She has 20 years of experience working in various hospitals, clinic and colleges in Mumbai, Vizag and Surat. She has worked as consultant dietitian with Padma Shri, Dr. Shashank Joshi and Dr. Dhurinder. She has also worked as a consultant dietitian for Medibice and Ranbaxy CV. She's a certified sports nutritionist and nutrigenetic counselor and involved in development of healthy snack bars for marathon runner, athletes and people with diabetes and pre-diabetes. She has worked as a consultant dietitian and program coordinator in Institute of Endocrinology, Hormone Hospital, Mumbai. She's the founder of NutriVenture, Specialty Nutrition Clinic, Surat. She's a club coordinator for IDA Gujarat chapter. She's the chief editor for IDA GC Newsletter 2021. Treasurer, IPIN, Surat chapter. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now I would like to introduce Ms. Tumobi Barman. She's a pediatric oncology nutritionist placed at Dr. B. Vora Cancer Institute, Guwahati, under Cuddles Foundation, Mumbai. She has received Excellence Award for the year 2021 and 2022. She has also received appreciation for significant contribution to develop bone marrow program in 2022. She has participated as faculty in revision of updates on hemato-oncology organized by Department of Medical Oncology on 27th and 28th August 2022, BBCI, on the topic Total Parenteral Nutrition. She has done poster presentation at 54th Annual Congress of International Society of Pediatric Oncology, Barcelona, Spain. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I would like to welcome Ms. Rajshri Kajali, ma'am. She has 20 years of experience working in various multi-speciality hospitals and clinic. She has worked as a senior dietitian at Nobicity Bariatric Department, KD Hospital, Ahmedabad. Worked as visiting faculty for nutrition in Apollo Institute of Nursing. She has also worked as a visiting lecturer in VLCC Institute of Nutrition. She has experience in teaching nutrition for nursing students. She's experienced in conducting corporate training programs regarding diet awareness and healthy lifestyle. She's an active member of Netrofen India. She's lifetime member of Indian Dietetic Association Gujarat chapter, lifetime member of IPN, Indian Association for Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition. She's active member of Sri Chetna, which is Sri Shakti Gujarat chapter, associate member of Kidney Patient Welfare Society. We welcome you, ma'am. I would like to ask all the panelists to please switch on their videos. Now I would like to introduce to Ms. Simi Khanna, ma'am. She's award-winning dietitian, clinical nutritionist, and lifestyle coach and TEDx speaker. She has won many awards in field of nutrition and fitness industry. She has written articles on nutrition and spread her thoughts for making life healthier and full of positivity in Namaste India e-magazine, Indian Menopause Society. She's a life member of Indian Dietetic Association, life member of ADE, which is Association of Diabetes Education. She designs nutrition board games and fitness card games, and she has a lot of varieties of her own homemade health product, which is approved by Food Lab Testing and FSSAI. She founded SK Lean in year 2016, a diet clinic situated in Jamnagar, serving personalized diet plans to clients worldwide to manage obesity, thyroid, PCOD, diabetes, hypertension, IBS, and all other lifestyle disorder. We welcome you, ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce to Ms. Swati Patel. She has 25 years of experience working as clinical dietitian. She has worked as a clinical dietitian with endocrinologist Dr. H.P. Chandalia, Mumbai. She's editorial assistant for Diabetes Today, an international journal of diabetes in developing country. She has been working at Alpha Healing Center, an alcohol and drug rehabilitation center. She's life member of Indian Dietetic Association, and she has done many community health awareness programs. We welcome you, Swati ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce to Ms. Vandana Hotwani ma'am. She's working as a clinical dietitian in multi-speciality hospital. She has done training under Dr. Janak Nathan, pioneer of ketogenic diet. She has worked with more than 50 plus gastro doctors. She has received certificates for nutritional support in metabolic syndrome by European Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism. She has received certificate for nutraceuticals for nutritionist and dietitian by Nutrify Today Academy. She is life member of Indian Dietetic Association. We welcome you, Vandana ma'am.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's audible.
I would like to introduce Nilanjana ma'am again. I would also ask Nilanjana ma'am and request her to please join the panel discussion.
Yeah, I'm here. Ashika, I'm here.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to our panel discussion. Our topic for today is the triad of wellness, microbiome, micronutrients, and disease prevention. May I request all the panel members to switch on their videos? Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's begin with Nilanjana ma'am. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that other panel members also may have. I'd like to begin with two questions, ma'am. The first being, like you said, that having deficiencies during the first 1,000 days impacts a child's life throughout their adulthood as well. So, what can we be doing during pregnancy to prevent the micronutrient deficiencies amongst children, especially amongst the urban population?
The life cycle approach, like you talked about in your presentation. So even if we talk about children, we need to talk about the pregnant mother. And the diet, of course, they enhance nutrients that are required during pregnancy. We should try and meet that. And there are certain nutrients which require supplementation in pregnancy. So very often there could be women who feel that it's okay, I will perhaps just increase my diet and I don't need to take a supplement. So the bioavailability of these minerals and these vitamins can be improved through some of these supplements, like we talked about probiotic, prebiotic supplementation. So although we can't overhaul the diet, it's very difficult to do that for anybody. But once you counsel them, you tell them what are the increased needs. So we can think about those supplements which increase the bioavailability. And even in the diet, like supposing you're having something that's iron rich, maybe you're having some green leafy vegetable. So to add to that, you can sprinkle some lemon on it to increase the bioavailability of it. So those strategies, even with food and with supplement, should be the focus of our attention.
Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, what are the
Sorry, Sheetal, I'll just add one more thing. Like ma'am said that we can, the bioavailability to add vitamin C whenever we are taking an iron. So a good combination is always there is Halim seeds is excellent in iron and it can be taken in lime juice. So this is some easy combination which can be suggested to people and they can include it in their daily routine. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Before I begin with the next question, does any other panel member have a question for Nilanjana ma'am?
Questions? Maybe they'll come up later.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are beautifully covered all the topics.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it was self-elaborating things. So again, like it was so nicely elaborated and so nicely presented, ma'am. It was really wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, what is the difference? There is enough research to show that there is difference in the gut microbiome of a child who is delivered naturally versus a child delivered by the C-section. So what are the changes that must be incorporated in both cases? Or what must we be mindful of to ensure that we help the child have a better gut health within the first 1,000 days?
So as much as possible, one should try for a vaginal delivery. And you know that there is a tendency, there are many reports of how there is now a tendency to go in for a C-section. And then once you go in for a C-section, the child does not get the vaginal microbes into the system. And interestingly, this was done in the olden days where there was a swab with the vaginal contents, which the child was made to sort of cover his mouth or his or her mouth so that they imbibe those microbiota. So put it towards the nose and the mouth. So this was done in the olden days. What we do now is, of course, the importance of breastfeeding. I think once the child, you cannot help certain deliveries being by C-section. If you can't help it, then the focus should be on breastfeeding and then weaning with homemade foods and not getting into processed foods right from the beginning. So these are two things, and as much as possible, going for a vaginal delivery. So that those are things which can be done.
Thank you so much, ma'am. My next question is for Amita. What is the impact of gut dysbiosis and absorption of nutrients on a leaky gut? And does it lead to a leaky gut?
Yeah. So thank you, Sheetal. See, the Nilanjana ma'am also have mentioned in her slides that human gut is, a dynamic ecosystem consisting of trillions of microorganisms, which includes your symbiotics, common cells, and pathogenic organisms. So we are not left alone. If anyone is feeling little lonely, there are, we can say that you're never left alone. We have so many tiny creatures with us that, help us or support us in maintaining our health. Now, usually in a healthy individual, there is a balance or there's a harmony between these microbes in terms of the diversity, composition, and the distribution. Now, when this microbiome balance gets disturbed or changed due to some triggers like, a change of a diet or a stress or excessive use of antibiotics, it could lead to several unhealthy changes, or it could lead to gut dysbiosis. Now, there could be less diversity of the beneficial microorganisms, or the pathogenic one might get increased. And this imbalance can lead to, many unhealthy changes. We have seen in her slide that, this microorganisms have, or they play a specific functions. They carry out different physiological functions like digestion, utilization, absorption of different nutrients. It also helps in harvesting energy to us, via the fermentation of the non-digestible dietary components, that is the fiber. Therefore, if there is any imbalance or dysbiosis, gut dysbiosis, it affects the entire process of the nutrient utilization, absorption, metabolism of different metabolism, and of course the various functions that each this microbes is supposed to do. They all get compensated. Now, this gut bacteria have the ability to synthesize and produce different vitamins like the vitamin K. Half of our vitamin K requirement is fulfilled with these microbes. So if they are compromised, this vitamin K synthesis is also hampered. They are also involved in biotin, folate, vitamin B12 synthesis. And these vitamins produced by these microbes significantly fulfill the nutrient requirements of our body. So if there is a gut dysbiosis, then definitely this is going to get compromised. We are not going to get the required quantities of the vitamin B12 or the other vitamins. Now, the gut microbiome also influences the metabolism of different minerals like, iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc. They also enhance the solubility and the absorption of these minerals, which increases the bioavailability to the host, as we just talked about the bioavailability of iron. So the gut microbiome helps in the metabolism of these micronutrients like the carbohydrates, proteins, fats. It is also involved in the bile acid metabolism. So if there is a gut dysbiosis, then definitely bile acid metabolism is also going to get affected. And then, we require this for the absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins. That is the vitamin A, D, E, K. So it is not only the vitamins that are synthesized by these microbes is going to get compromised, but it is also helping the other fat soluble vitamins for in absorption of this nutrient. So all of this is going to get, affected when there is a gut dysbiosis. Now coming back to, the leaky gut hypothesis. So, this the gut microbiome also plays an important role in maintaining the integrity of the gut barrier. They produce different metabolic products like, we just talked about the short chain fatty acid, also the indoles or the hydroxy fatty acids. And these substances maintain the integrity of the tight junction barrier. And thus it prevents the translocation of pathogenic organisms and the toxins produced by these pathogenic organisms across the membrane. Now, if this integrity is getting affected, now naturally there is a translocation of this pathogenic ones into the bloodstream from the gut, and this leakage can cause different pro-inflammatory reactions, and they can trigger the immune response, which can lead to inflammation and infections or any disease conditions. So yes, the gut dysbiosis affects the absorption of the nutrients, the micronutrients, as well as the macronutrients metabolism. And it can also lead to leaky gut because it is affecting the gut integrity by these organisms.
Thanks. Thank you, Amita. I think that was a wonderful explanation and a very detailed one. I'm sure it will be very helpful to all our delegates. May I now request Rajeshri ma'am, what would be the MNT for gut dysbiosis? As Amita has shared that, it's going to impact not only vitamins, minerals, but even our macronutrients.
Yeah.
So what would be the MNT for gut dysbiosis?
Fine. MNT, if we discuss, it will be based on providing micronutrients first. Basic thing will be micronutrients, and again, keeping an eye to macronutrients as well. But micronutrients along with pre and probiotics will be the basic guideline for MNT. And again, the choice of pre and probiotics will depend on how that gut biosis is manifested. If it is manifesting like your digestive diseases like IBS and IBD sort of thing, or maybe digestive problems and all, and that time we have to go for low FODMAP diet. But if that is not the case, then there is a variety and privilege to use all those pre and probiotic things, like maybe there are all fresh fruits and vegetables, and maybe all the dairy products and even soya products, and also many things are there which can be used at pre and probiotics. Of course, it will be providing micronutrients flora as well. So this way, that can be the gut dysbiosis MNT, and definitely all these basic guideline will be providing micro and macronutrients along with pre and probiotics, because the reason and the result will be micronutrient deficiency for all these gut dysbiosis.
We can actually, test the microflora, and, we can actually see the which microflora you are lacking, and, you can accordingly plan a more personalized or individualized medical nutrition.
Yeah, and that can be useful while choosing the probiotic flora as well.
Yes.
Nilanjana, you also spoke about FMT.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ma'am, could you please share a little more and elaborate on that?
So FMT is being tried out for many conditions, many of these NCDs. And I think the good results, like I said, is happening not with the NCD so much as the Clostridium difficile diarrhea and the antibiotic associated diarrheas. Those are two conditions, but the Clostridium difficile is actually a life-threatening condition, and the kind of results that they have got with it has also made it somewhat like mainstream. Of course, you need a whole setup for that, and there are certain big hospitals which are having that setup. But I think for it to sort of percolate and go everywhere, it's still some time. But in the meantime, what one can do is those tools, the other tools that we talked about, probiotics, synbiotics, and also fermented foods. I think those are also a source of good micronutrients as well as these gut flora, which can sort of help in the absorption of nutrients. Bioavailability becomes important, and that's how we talk. So FMT is also being looked at for NAFLD. Like I said, that is my area of interest. So that certain centers are doing that. So I think in the future, we'll see more and more conditions where FMT may benefit.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, along with FMT, what are the supplements that you would recommend? Or is it that only FMT is recommended and no other supplements at that time?
No, I don't think the supplements are required at that time, because FMT is something that needs to be done, and you need to see how the person, the individual reacts to it. So it's not like you have a multimodal kind of therapy where you do so many things together. So in order to see the effect of one thing, you do FMT. And if you're in a research setup, of course, then you have to be more careful about what you add on, and you concentrate on FMT itself.
Ma'am, I have a question for you. Ma'am, how long does it take for the gut to recover after taking the antibiotics? You said the butyric acid reduces fourfold. So how long does it take to recover?
So,
depending on the...
So a lot of supplementation is also recommended with probiotics when you're taking antibiotics. So the only thing is you don't have to take it along with the antibiotic. Many people have the antibiotic, and maybe if they're having a supplement of the probiotic, have it together. The idea is to give a gap, and usually it's recommended that you give a gap of 2 hours. And then if you supplement with the probiotic, very good results have been seen, and the effect of the antibiotic is mitigated. So the dysbiosis is mitigated, and I think within a week, of course, there are many different studies. I won't be able to give you a generalized view, but with antibiotic-associated diarrhea, supplementing with the probiotic has shown very good results.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Swati, for the question. My next question is to Vandana, ma'am. What are the most common types of IBS that you have seen? And amongst them, which are the key micronutrient deficiencies most commonly observed in IBDs?
IBS, if we talk about, that is constipated or diarrhea, or maybe some mixed. So some of the people, they have constipated, some of them have the recurrent diarrhea, episodes of diarrhea, or maybe some mixed of that constipation and diarrhea. So micronutrient deficiency can be ruled out like they are deficient in vitamin B, and they may be deficient in iron deficiency is found, and maybe some folate. So in that case, we try to work it out with to justify them, we try to work it out with the fibers and good amount of hydration. That is all from the food sources. And that is lifestyle modification, because that is where we are trying to build up the good microbiome, the colonies that have been affected, the bad bacteria that has been overcome, that has to be justified with the giving of the good, building up of the colonies of the good bacteria that we say, that is common cells, what we call about. So what we do is we put them into the fibers, and fibers, that is soluble fibers, to justify the mucosa membrane, because the mucosa needs a remission. First it goes into the remission, and then there is a recovery is seen. And lifestyle modification and hydration part. So this is where we try to justify, since they are chronic in that case.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, also could you elaborate more on the micronutrients that could play a key role in reviving the gut microbiome for IBD patients?
IBD, that is inflammatory bowel disease, right? So in that case, we need a micronutrient. So we work it out with the vitamins and minerals, both of them. Like vitamins, we deal with A, D, B, and K. So this vitamin K, as talked about, that is generated itself when we work it out with a good bacteria in that case. And the supplementation is from that. So that is what has to be worked out with the orally. And minerals, we try to work it out with the calcium, like hung curd we give itself in the morning. So that breakfast is done with the paratha, if they have been consuming. So in that case, we work it out with the fibers and the curd in that. So it goes with the good bacteria, that is probiotic, can be worked out. And the calcium, it has a tendency of building up of the quantity of the good bacteria. As such, the minerals, they have the role to be played. And the same way, phosphorus, it adds on to the number of the colonization of the good bacteria. So we try to justify them with the minerals and the vitamins with the dietary supplementation, that is dietary sources itself from the detox to the dinner, the whole thing. Detox is there, then morning, breakfast, lunch. So this is where we work it out with the vitamins and minerals.
Thank you, Vandana ma'am, for sharing your experience. I'd like to now ask Amita again, what is the impact of different Indian diets on a healthy gut microbiome? For example, could you help us compare between vegetarian, vegan, non-vegetarian, pescatarian diet?
Yes. So our diet is the main contributing factor which affects the gut microbiome, because as we eat, we are not only providing the nourishment to our body, but we are also providing the food for our microorganisms, because they feed on this the food we eat, and then the gut microflora gets developed. So your diet definitely affects the gut microbiome. It influences the pH of the colon. It also it also favors the cross feeding of different microorganisms. Like the more beneficial products are formed, and then these products are taken by the other organisms, which again forms the more beneficial products which are beneficial to our body. So a diverse microbiome or a resilient microbiome has a wide variety of organisms, and each performs its own function. So we should have a diet which is more diverse, as we just talked about, which gives more diversity on your plate, then it gives more diverse microflora. So the diet should increase the richness and the diversity of the microflora. Now, there are certain dietary substances like the resistant starch or the fibers like inulin that stimulate the growth of the polysaccharide utilizing or the butyrate producing bacteria, so that the more butyrate is formed. And we just talk about how butyrate is important in health promotion, like it is the anti-inflammatory or it maintains the gut integrity. So the more butyrate forming organisms are formed, it is more beneficial. So when the diet is very low in carbohydrates, like a low carbohydrate diet, or the ketogenic diet, which are low in fiber, then definitely such diets is not supporting the butyrate forming organisms, and we are missing out on the roles that this bacteria is forming. So the low carbohydrate, it also increases the Clostridium species, as we just talked about how Clostridium species is not beneficial or harmful to our body. So we definitely don't want this Clostridium species to get flourished. So definitely a very low carbohydrate diet or a ketogenic diet is not very helpful in terms of our gut microflora. Now, also there are many studies which supports that protein consumption positively affects the gut microflora. But also the source of protein is also very important. The animal protein or the plant-based proteins are more beneficial than the animal-based proteins. Now, the consumption of the whey or the pea protein extract has been reported to increase the gut commensals like the bifidobacterium and the lactobacillus, which we want to increase. And they additionally decrease this pathogenic bacteria. The animal protein diets, as ma'am just talked about, it increases the levels of trimethylene and oxide, and that causes, very proatherogenic compounds, and so that can lead to atherosclerotic changes. So proteins are important, but not the source of protein is important. The plant-based proteins are found to be more beneficial than the animal proteins. But also it has been seen that if we add lactose then the beneficial bacteria or the healthy bacteria is increased as compared to the vegan or the vegetarian diets. So these things we should see while selecting the diet. So the most the diet, even there are some studies, of course that is a very small study, which says that the gluten free diets also decreases the beneficial bifidobacterium counts and increases the pathogenic count. So it's a small study, but definitely we need to study this more, rather than opting for the trending diets, gluten free, and getting more into the popular diets. We should see which diet is more beneficial or good for our health, and we should select such kind of diet. And of course, as everyone has said, Rajashri ma'am and even Nilanjana ma'am, the planning of the diets, the different things also we should cater. So we should combine all this gut microflora knowledge with our dietetics and plan the more suitable diets or helpful diets to our clients.
Just 1 minute.
I have
very important point that Amita has highlighted. Unnecessary restrictions in the diet. I mean, unless it's therapeutically required, people tend to go off many things, whether it is carbohydrates or whether it is many things that they sort of become whimsical. And so a diverse diet is very important. So I just wanted to say that it's a very important point that you mentioned.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have a question. How about lean meats? See, this formation of trimethylamine, N-oxide and all would be with a high-fat source of protein, non-vegetarian foods, right? But if we are using lean meats or if we are using egg whites, what is the answer to that?
That's fine. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Amita, you go.
Yeah. Actually, there are certain studies, which says that, yes, lean meats like your fish and whatever you have mentioned is egg is good. But, when we compare with the other plant-based diets, they're in terms of gut microflora, not the other things, I'm highlighting. It's just in terms of gut microflora, but it doesn't have a very, a very favorable effect on our gut microflora. So the more plant-based diets...
Can I just add something, that it should be predominantly a plant-based diet. So if you take huge amounts of processed meats, definitely it's going to affect your gut. So if it's a predominantly plant-based with lean meat, that's fine, provided it's not processed. When it's processed, then we have a...
Yeah.
And another...
No, but fish and egg whites, I think, should be good enough. Yeah.
Yes, for the dietetic point of view, that's okay. We can have that. And even in gut microbiome, if we follow a diet for a longer period of times, then this gut microflora gets changed. So occasionally, yes, you can, if you like, then you can have it. But it's the more, the restrictive diets, like, completely avoiding a certain group of food groups is not advisable, because, long term, the gut microflora gets changed, and sometimes, some species we literally get lost during this period, if we are continuously having a very restrictive diet. The most important health gut flora is getting lost, and that is a permanent loss. Then only that just man mentioned that the fecal or the stool transplantation is the only option. So why to go to that level? Moderation is the key, which we always say.
Thank you, Amita. I got the answer. Thank you, Nilanjana ma'am.
Thanks. I think definitely every thought giving the side the patient will be very mindful of it.
I can't. Sheetal, you're not audible, Sheetal.
Now is it better? Is it better?
I think Sheetal, only
Yeah,
one
but there is a lot of buzzing.
speaker be on and the other speaker should be off, otherwise the disturbance will be prolonged. Only the one who is saying should on the speaker, then this background
Yeah,
music
I
won't
agree.
be there.
She's right. Yes, Sheetal.
If you could just unmute yourself.
There is some echo actually.
Yes.
Mute yourself. Swati, can you mute yourself? Okay, that was good. Okay, great. Thanks, Swati. So my next question is to Simi. And how does the gut microbiome impact the circadian rhythm and therefore the sleep cycle? Digital detox is the now in thing. So how can we help?
Okay, and I'll just share a story before I start this. We all know that diseases starts from our gut. Okay, gut health, and there was a discussion going on among the body parts, So the brain said, "I am the most important because I help you change everything in your body." The heart says, "No, I am more important because I help you the help beating the heart, and that's how your body keeps going." Then the liver says, "No, I am more important because I absorb, I secrete." I do the metabolization and everything, so I am important. So the last came the gut. So the gut said, "I am the most important." You know why? Because I absorb, I secrete, I reabsorb, I do all the functions in the body. And then everybody started laughing. "Oh, it's not possible." So it got angry and it got shut down. So once the gut was shut, everybody realized, okay, now we realize that the gut is the most important thing. So whatever we do, whether it is whatever we put in our body or the changes that we make in our lifestyle, everything contributes to the cardiac rhythm in our body. That's what I have that personal experience with me. So when it comes to sleep, a lot of factors in today's world has come up. Maybe it's the social media, maybe it's the white light, or maybe it's the dopamine effect where people are just surfing onto the reels, so these are all the things which is affecting our microbes. And the more the white light, the gut bacteria, I feel the good bacteria reduces and the bad bacteria increases. And sleep after COVID has become a very, very common factor among all the age group, whether it is a teenager or whether it's a old person, everybody suffers to the sleep quality or the sleep issues. So I feel a change in the diet and inclusion of certain breathings and a certain exercise helps to sleep better. Say, for example, it is seen that a chamomile tea helps to sleep better. Why? Because it has got a thing called as epigenin in it, which helps the gut microbe to change, and then it will induce sleep. So if you take the chamomile tea somewhere around 6:37, then by around 10, you tend to feel a little drowsy. And I don't say that you have to make it like a lifestyle habit of having the chamomile tea, but just to regularize the system and the mind to understand that something is inducing it. I've seen a lot of left nostril breathing, which I have been teaching it to my clients, really work well, because the left side of our brain is the cooler side of our body. So they say that when you are calmer, the gut microbe changes and it gives you a better microbe in your body. So I feel when you make a combination of all these things, when you take a daily dose, now when I say a daily dose, it has to be dopamine, it has to be oxytocin, it has to be serotonin, it has to be endorphin. Now, how do you get this? So you get a combination of diet, the combination of exercise, and a combination of a little bit of breathing technique, and most important, stress. So these will help you to improve the stress, in turns improve the quality of sleep. So it's like a mixture of all. That's what I would say, that this will improve the cardiac rhythm of the sleep, and in turn, our gut bacteria improves.
Thanks, Nimi. I think we'll all appreciate and remember the story for sure. I think that was very interesting and a very holistic perspective to improving the gut microbiome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
My next question is to Rajshri ma'am. Ma'am, what diet and lifestyle factors lead to a vicious cycle of the poor gut microbiome, hormonal balance, and therefore also leading to PCOS? Ma'am, you need to unmute.
Yeah, when we say about lifestyle, it comes to unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy eating habits, unhealthy working hours, unhealthy food choices. So many things, they are collectively working on the body. And again, it is impacting the stress, sort of a stress on the body. That stress will be actually on the body itself and on your immune system as well. When the stress is there is macronutrient deficiency. They are combating to the actually adding on to the biological stress, and this is emotional stress, maybe psychological stress, and maybe physical stress, and all those things, because there are no exercise schedules, there are no good foods and all. If at all we try for a good food, again we are deteriorating quality of food, whatever we are getting as a natural and fresh fruits and all. So all these things are adding to your stress levels, and once the stress levels are increased, there is more secretion of catecholamines and maybe some bad hormones. And these hormones will be decreasing the immunity levels. Cholamines, these hormones will be decreasing the immunity levels, and these diseased conditions, they are leading to disease conditions, and disease conditions itself putting a stress. Now these stress levels always combated, like maybe some obesity hoga, maybe some constipation hoga, maybe some sleepless nights honge. All these things, again in the stressed conditions, what we are going to go is wrong food choices. In the stressed condition, no one will go for green tea and no one will go for a plate of salad and all this, definitely. And stressed itself will be, if we backward spell the backward, it is coming as desserts, right? So all these food choices will be putting again a stress, and these stress are definitely working on our hormonal levels, and hormonal levels are again defeating to all our whole gut microbiota, our dysbiosis, and whole our body things. And again, once we are coming into gut dysbiosis, again there is a micronutrient deficiency. There is a vicious cycle, and somewhere we have to break that vicious cycle. So that is what I believe in.
Very well said, ma'am. Somewhere we definitely have to break it, and
Yeah.
soil has definitely played a key role in us not getting the micronutrients.
Yes. So if at all we are trying for natural and fresh foods and all, if at all so many dietitians are telling to go for fresh fruits and all, some person also goes. But if at all he is going for that natural food, where he is getting that pure quality of food into that? Like whatever expected micronutrients are there. Suppose if we are talking about a single tomato, where that lycopene levels are there. So all these things are really adding a burden on micronutrient deficiency.
Yes, so very true, ma'am. Therefore, our government is also pushing for fortification of.
Yes, and all these deficiencies and all these hormonal imbalances, they are leading to early puberty, early menopause, and maybe some infertility, maybe that PCOS, like PCOD diseases, so many other things according to the hormonal disturbances. So these are the facts we are living with, and somewhere we have to break those facts.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. May I now invite Simi to please share a holistic perspective on how to break this vicious cycle of stress and desert.
To be very honest, as everybody knows that you come up with a problem, and I come up with a solution, and that's why people call me like a food innovator. If somebody says I like this, okay, I turn the recipe onto it and I give it to them. So the best part when I talk about desserts, I say people ask me a lot of questions. Is sugar good? Is Mishri good? Or is jaggery good? So I said nothing is good. So then they say, if this is not good, then how do we make it sweet? So I said, okay, you can use dates. Now, say, for example, if some diabetes have come to me and they say, oh, we can't use dates. So I'll say use cinnamon. So I think understanding the person's condition who has approached you for the particular way, how we can not devoid him by telling that, okay, don't have this, but by giving him a solution of saying, okay, you can have this. And I feel the more we study the food, the more we can come up with innovative ideas. I will just give one small example. We all know curry leaves are very good when it comes to hormonal imbalance or something like that. Now, curry leaves, if you say someone to have it, they are not going to have it. But then I turned the curry leaves into a podi, so which they can mix it up with the rice and have it. The taste was awesome. Nutritive value matched everything. People loved it. You can go for moringa podi. So I think when you educate the people, which is not time consuming, which can be stored for 15 days at the room temperature, I think we can still guide them, or we can push them to eat a little healthy food rather by, giving them a big list. And if they're working, which is not going to be possible. Secondly, staying in ACs has led to water consumption too low, or people have become very conscious and just over drinking the water. So I think that balance of hydration is very important when it comes to gut microbe, because I feel it's important in terms of giving a healthy gut. We need to maintain the hydration factor too. So this is how I would say that you tell me an issue and I would come up with a nice solution, with a package, and give it to you regarding that. So I feel once you start making these minor changes, when the people start making these small changes, like just deep breathe. When you're sitting on a computer, just breathe deep and then just be yourself calm. When you give them small doable things, they get the confidence of doing it, and then that's the time when they are ready to make more changes in their life. That is my approach towards dealing with a good gut microbe. I always focus more on the fermented foods. So the traditional old fermented rice, I have a technique wherein I ask them to add the flax seeds in the end for omega-3, so that the cravings for the sweet doesn't come. So when you mix it with a prebiotic, it's already probiotics is already there. So when you mix the onion and a carrot for a prebiotic in the fermented rice with an omega-3, it like makes a complete bowl. If somebody doesn't have time in the morning to make a breakfast, they can do this in the night before going to sleep, so that they can have a bowl of probiotics and prebiotics to improve the gut microbe right from the morning breakfast.
Great. I think that's a wonderful suggestion to begin the day.
Very true, Simmi. And actually, that is the way a dietitian has to work with the clients. It should be more feasible to them. It should be attractive. It should be very much nutrient dense also. And at the same time, it should be again pocket friendly as well. So yeah, all these things have to be considered while consulting the diet.
Thank you. Thank you, Simi. Thank you, Rajshri ma'am. Really appreciate it. I think my next question is for Swati Patel. And that is, does a poor gut microbiome lead to type 2 diabetes, and what is the mechanism for that? My only request to all the other panelists, in the interest of time, that we've already reached 4:54. So if we could keep the answers brief for our delegates, that would be really helpful. Swati, could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, I could not hear your question. Can you repeat the question, please?
Swati, there is an echo coming from your side. Are there 2 devices on?
No, I don't think so.
You may just mute one device.
Okay, I'll try. Okay, now?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what are the mechanisms by which a poor gut microbiome will lead to type 2 diabetes?
Okay, so I think this part is beautifully been covered by Nilanjana ma'am, but still I'll attempt this question. So research suggests that an imbalance in the gut microbiome, which we all call it as dysbiosis, may have a role in the development of type 2 diabetes mellitus. And this could be either due to inflammation, because dysbiosis can lead to low-grade inflammation, and this inflammation can impair insulin signaling, or it could disrupt glucose metabolism, and either of these can lead to insulin resistance, which we know is a characteristic of type 2 diabetes mellitus. It could also be due to increased energy extraction. Now, when we talk about gut microbiome, we know that species. So there are a kind of bacterial species which are able to extract more energy from the food that we eat. Now, say if a person has this particular bacterial species in a higher population, then probably the energy excreted from his or her diet is going to be more, leading to weight gain or obesity, which again is a risk factor for diabetes mellitus. And it could also be because short-chain fatty acids, we discussed a lot about it. So the gut microbiome produces short-chain fatty acids as a byproduct of fermenting the dietary fiber. And butyrate is a beautiful example of this, which has a role in regulating glucose metabolism and the insulin sensitivity. So when there is a decreased amount of these kind of bacteria which produces butyrate, again, there are chances of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes mellitus. And it could also be gut permeability. So we know dysbiosis can lead to leaky gut, where harmful substances like polysaccharides may enter the bloodstream. And when these levels are elevated in the bloodstream, it could again lead to low grade of inflammation, which we already discussed that inflammation could be a reason for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Well, certain metabolites also like the trimethylene and oxide, which can influence metabolic processes, and high levels of this can also increase the risk of CVD and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Also, it modulates the lipid metabolism. It metabolizes the bile acids, which can also interfere with the lipid metabolism and glucose metabolism, leading to type 2 diabetes mellitus and CVD. I think I was too fast because we have less time. I hope everybody's understood what I'm trying to say. But yeah, all said and done, more researchers are in line, and we need more researchers to prove this.
Thank you, Swati. I have one more question for you, Swati. What is the one key nutrient that you like to focus on in your practice to revive a gut microbiome, to improve the energy levels for patients with thyroid, PCOS, or metabolic syndrome? Is there one key nutrient that you would definitely focus on?
So, Sheetal, if you ask for one key nutrient, it's going to be very unfair. It's like asking the mother, whom do you like more, the daughter or the son? Okay, so it's very unfair. So I think we need a whole lot of nutrients. We need our micronutrients. We need our macronutrients in the form of dietary fibers. We know that magnesium, selenium, zinc, all of them are so important with regulation of so many metabolic processes, like magnesium for insulin secretion, insulin sensitivity. Selenium is an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Zinc is needed for hormone production like insulin, other hormones, and it also helps to regulate the irregular menstrual cycles. So we need all of this plus our probiotic. The prebiotic is the dietary that we need. So it's a mixture of all that we have to eat. So somebody in the group, I think Amita said that we cannot afford to leave a single food group. So I think we need all of this.
That's a very nice answer, Swati, that you don't want to single out one, and they are all interconnected. So beautifully said.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Swati. I totally agree with your answer. I wouldn't leave out a single nutrient too. So
thank you.
Over to you again. What are the important, like constipation seems to be something that our elders were always concerned about. But somewhere along the line, it's been forgotten that constipation is actually a concern. And being constipated could lead to a lot of chronic inflammation and therefore a poor gut. So what is imperative to have a healthy gut microbiome and healing from the root cause? Simi, the question is to you.
I thought it was for Swati. Okay, so when, see, in today's, as I said, in today's world, our habits have changed, and constipation actually in India is not considered as a disease. People don't even know that it is a disease actually. For them, it is like, okay, chalta hai, 2 din baad aayega, so it's okay. It's that kind of an attitude. But it's like creating an awareness that this is the root cause for all the diseases that is there, because we all know that all diseases starts from the gut. So once it's the constipation, when we are sitting for a very long period of time, or where there is no movement, of course, it's a repetitive of all the panelists and all Nilanjana ma'am's slides put together, that when there is a gut imbalance in our body, that's the time when the constipation takes place. So I think when we improve the each and every aspect by having when we have a plant-based diet, definitely we are taking in a lot of fibers inside our in our plate, and then when we hydrate ourselves, it swells, and that's how the mechanism starts. So I feel it's a combination of everything that we put together can cure this particular constipation problem. Of course, we have to check whether the person is either not deficient in vitamin B, the vitamin levels of the person is proper or not, is the person stressed or not, because again, in all these conditions, again, the gut microbe keep changing. So a small solution, what I tell people to give during the constipation is, whenever you're having a salad, just sprinkle a little ajma on top of it. And I want you to chew the food till it turns into water inside your mouth. And I think once you do that, trust me, your gut bacteria is going to be good, because we have microbes in our mouth. So the digestion actually starts inside our mouth with the saliva. So once when we have forgotten to chew our food, so when you chew the food properly, try it. It's not easy to just sit and count the number of times you can chew that particular food. And the more the plant-based diet you have, the more the chewing time it takes. So that really helps in the digestion. That really helps in increasing the gut microbes, the good gut microbes. And that if you do this, if you don't land up in any of the gut issues, it tends to become lesser day by day. So I would say that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Simi. I'm sure we all tell our patients, chew every morsel of food 32 times, as many teeth as you have. So yes, I'm sure all of us on the panel agree with you.
Sheetal, I would just tell you through my practical experiences, 32 times we say it, but it's not possible. Each food, if you're eating rice, it is absolutely not possible to chew it for 32 times. And you will not believe it. I've started this ritual by counting the number of chews I'm taking if I'm eating rice, or the number of chews I'm taking when I'm eating a salad. And trust me, it's very interesting, because when we're eating rice, the maximum I could chew is just 16 times. But when I was eating a salad, I could chew it for at least 24 times. 32, I haven't reached it yet.
Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing it. I'm sure everybody is going to start counting too. It's an interesting experiment for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I have a question for Nilanjana ma'am.
Swati, could we just hold on, because in the interest of time, I don't want to lose out on Mommy's question. Mommy, my question is for you. What are the challenges with nutrition in cancer patients, and which micronutrients should be included and definitely avoided for cancer patients, because that is definitely what we see as a result of chronic inflammation, one of the reasons. So yes, please, could you share?
Yeah, thank you, Sheetal, for the question. First of all, cancer is basically what I am dealing with is pediatric population, right? So it's very difficult to deal with patients. Like just now, Simi said, that is a one quick tip that I can give it to my kid, chew your food and count, so that it will be really easy for them. So basically the constipation things that is come up for pediatric patient or for oncology patient, that is like chemo-induced constipation. This is not because they are not eating, or that is one of the major factors, that is it is chemotherapy induced. It's not just only the food, right? So there are certain drugs like cisplatin, citrobin, just for a few medications which actually cause severe constipation to the patients, which I have observed. The other factor which can also lead to constipations, like low fluid intake. If there is a 2-year-old kid which is already on medication, if you are telling as per the body weight, drink 500 ml ml of water that kid is not going to drink at any cost, right? So that is one of the another factor which I have observed. And when it comes to vegetables, fruits, and the other product that is available, which can add some fiber in their diet, which is just not possible in my cases, because most of the time they have this food aversion, vomiting is there, they don't have that taste. So in that scenarios, it's very difficult to convince, to add on some other tips, and then asking them to add them in their diet is just, very impossible to convince when there is an active phase of chemotherapy or any active phase of treatment during cancer. So when they get back to their home after 6-7 months of active chemotherapy, I tend to tell them, okay, this is the way you can include those many food in your diet, but not in the active phases, to be very honest. And the another, as Nilanjana ma'am said, there is, gut and brain connection. So in that case, obviously, when it is a pediatric patient who is suffering from cancer and staying in the hospital for 6-7 months, so it's very difficult to feed the child at that point of time. So this constipation is most commonly seen. I think my 95% of the patient, they are developing constipation like anything. So there is one another factor, that is the neutrophils count. So when the neutrophil counts are low, usually during all the leukemia treatments, the neutrophil counts are very low throughout the active phases of the treatment. So in those cases also, sometimes we have to restrict the fruits, like in a raw form. Certain vegetables are also restricted, which like cucumbers and all, if we could say in a form of salad. We can't allow them at that point of time because the child is in a hospital setup, because I worked in a government setup, right? And that in those cases, we are trying to give a low bacterial diet, a sterile diet to the patient. So in those scenarios also, certain food needs to be restricted. And the another part which is very important, because I mostly work on food and drug interaction, that is 6-MP. There is a medication which is given in leukemia. So in those cases also, while taking that medication, the child need to avoid dairy products for 2 hours before and after consuming that medication. So I can't recommend, okay, go for curd if the child is having constipation. Go for curd and consume that. It's very difficult to, at that time, customize the diet plan for that patient. So what I suggest, to improve digestion and, for healthy bowel movement in those scenarios, I recommend fiber supplementation to the patient without delaying much further, because when it comes to cancer, we can't just wait for 4-5 days. Okay, let's eat this, let's include this, and then let's waiting for their bowel movement. No. So in that scenario, supplementation really works well. Also, not only the child with chemotherapy, also with children post surgery, it's very important to include the fiber supplements, to start with bowel movement. And also this faulty diet things which ma'am said about, we need to think about it, we need to customize it. And that's how I came up with this thing, fiber supplementation is very, very important when it comes to constipation for all the cases, oncology cases. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mommy. I think you have shared a variety of cancer cases, and all of us who are not onco dietitians will definitely would have made notes and learned immensely from you. And for every patient that comes to us with cancer, we will definitely be mindful of checking whether they're constipated or not, and on their medications as well.
Yes.
So at this moment, I would like to thank each and every person of the panel. I would like to thank all the panelists for being here, staying beyond time as well. Thank you so very much. I would like to take this moment to thank Nilanjana ma'am for a wonderful presentation and a very, very insightful presentation. We've all had a great learning from you, ma'am. Your experience has been very, very valuable to us. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us and for staying on extra as well.
Thank you so much, Sheetal, for inviting me. And I think they're very important topics that you discussed in your panel discussion, like the one about constipation. I work in a gastro hospital, and I seem to be looking at a set of patients who are always complaining about constipation. And I think Indians are obsessed with their bowel movements, and they seem to be. So if we have solutions which come from diet and certain tools that we can use, it's very, very helpful, I think, for all of us practicing. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd also like
Thank
to take
you.
this opportunity to thank Bhavna ma'am and Reema ma'am for both helping me organize, helping us at Good Monk and Superfoods Valley organize this wonderful CNE. I would like to thank each and every LEC member of IDA Gujarat chapter and NetProfan Gujarat chapter for being so supportive, so encouraging, and bubbling with ideas to make this CNE actually very successful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Sheetal.
Thank you, Sheetal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhavna and Reema, for having invited me. It was a pleasure meeting all the dietitians from Gujarat. So thank you very much. Hope to stay in touch with all of you.
Indeed, I have to thank you, Nilanjana. I have to thank you for sparing your time and experience and sharing your experiences with us. So,
been great connecting. So,
yeah, thoroughly enjoyed today's session. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.